Today I'm going to show you how I made this. Take some footage from your most recent shoot and check the frame rate you shot it in. Then drag it into After Effects, right click, Interpret Footage, Main, 23.976 and hit OK. Drag it into a new composition, right click, rename, give it a name you're going to remember, then hide it. Now create a new solid and call it Element. Go to Effects, Video Copilot, Element. Click on Scene Setup, right click in the Scene menu and create a new group. Give it a name you're going to remember. Now go to the model browser, Metropolitan, and add different city blocks to your scene. You want to build this up until you get something that looks like a city. Now go to the starter pack and add a billboard. You want to move this around until it's on top of a building. Hit environment and load a custom environment in from Windows Explorer. Use something that matches the scene. Toggle the environment button to preview it in the viewport. Drag the element layer underneath your footage. Right click, new, camera. Keep the settings the same, then use the C key on the keyboard to move around the scene. Add some keyframes at different positions as you move around the object. This may take some time, but by the end of it you want it to be parallel to the billboard. Play it back and you get OK, render settings, physical environment, show in background. Find a logo you want to stick in one side of the billboard, then drag it into After Effects into your composition. Make sure you rename it if you haven't already. Turn on your footage layer, find the parts you want to use, then split the layer into 3 different parts. Delete the last part as you're not going to use this. Right click on the first part, time, freeze frame, then make sure you rename that layer. Now select both layers, right click, pre-compose and give it a name. Now go into that composition, find the part you want to use, right click, time, enable time remapping and add some keyframes. Drag the keyframes closer together, then add an ease in and ease out if you want. Go to Effects, search for Force Motion Blur, then drag it onto the second part of the clip. Change the samples to 16. Now go back to your main comp and turn off both of those layers. Go to your element layer, layers, custom texture maps and add those layers in. Change the second one to Effects and Masks. Now go back into your scene. Now you want to select each object, go to the diffuse and load them as a custom layer. The video won't show up unless you're on the right frame. To avoid any reflections, make sure you turn the glossy down of each material. Now go back to your comp, play it back and make sure the layers are stuck in the billboard. We need some light. Right click, new, light, then adjust the settings to light up your scene. Find when the transition starts, then make sure the freeze frame matches up with this position. Now go to Effects, search for Lumetri and drag it onto your layer. Find the part where the transition takes place, then add some keyframes on the exposure, bringing up the exposure as you go into the billboard. Then add some keyframes on saturation, bringing down the exposure before you get to the billboard. Right click, new, light, add a parallel light if it's too dark. Zoom out a bit, then tweak settings. Find a clip of some fire, then drag it into After Effects. Make sure it's keyed out with a transparent background. Drag it into your comp and then move it around to get the timing right. Find a part where the billboard is facing the camera. Go to Element, Utilities, generate 3D position, then pick a position on the billboard. Generate a null, then that null sticks to that position. Make your fire footage 3D, then copy the position from that null to that fire. You might need to play around with the scale, position, and the orientation to make sure it matches up with the billboard. Make sure you turn off these settings in the material options. Play it back and you get oh, so close. Find the part where the transition takes place and drag in some footage of some glass breaking. Make sure this is keyed out as well. Drag it into your comp, move it around in the timeline to get the timing right, then cut it just where you want the transitions to take place. Enable motion blur for element, the fire, and in the composition. Then some music, color grade, and some dodgy sound effects later. Link to the full version in the description. Bye.